What is up? Gear Squad, ChaingearGaming here, bringing the video, and today we're going to talk about a topic that I haven't spoken about in quite a while. The topic is game streaming. Now, if you guys don't think game streaming is the future, and let me be clear, game streaming, not like Twitch, not like live streaming on YouTube. I'm talking about playing your games off the cloud, playing your games off a server somewhere that you can't see, and just getting them instantly. You don't necessarily own the game, but you have data that's tied to the game and you have the experience that you played, right? If you guys don't think game streaming is the future, I'm sorry. It's true. Game streaming is the future. Think about Netflix. Look, there's always going to be people that want to own their physical medium, right? Whether they want to hold that Blu-ray in their hand or they want to control all the little bits and pieces of something, that's fair. But the vast majority of players just want to jump into a game of Warzone, just want to jump into a game of Fortnite, just want to jump into a game of Grand Theft Auto Online, and they don't care where the disc is. They don't care where the data is. They just want to play the game, right? So it's interesting to think about that. Game streaming is the future. And what I did is I went ahead and subscribed to Amazon Luna. If you haven't heard of Amazon Luna, well, it is their streaming platform. It's not huge, it's not big or anything like that, but there was kind of like a free deal where you could go ahead and subscribe after a trial, and they actually sent these Luna controllers. I think there was a deal, and so I went ahead and got a Luna controller for you guys. I tested it out, and I got the subscription, and I've got a couple of things I gotta say. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about my first impressions, kind of a mini review of Amazon Luna. We'll talk about the controller, we'll talk about the pricing, we'll talk about the games, and of course we'll talk about how the games actually play on streaming, on a streaming platform. I have played Google Stadia. I've played PlayStation Now. And of course there's great deals out there like Xbox Game Pass. So is it worth getting this subscription over other ones? We're gonna talk about that. So the first thing I want to do is actually take you guys to the Luna website. So this is brought to you by Amazon. And so as you guys can see here, we've got the Luna website, and it goes through, a couple games that are out here. You can see you can continue playing games. I was just recently playing Blaze Blue. There's a Katamari Damacy, Ghost Runner, Team Sonic Racing, and of course I was playing all these to just test out the latency, the graphics, and things like that. But there's a bunch of different games and new games that are being added. I don't know if I'd say like every day or every week, but they're being added on some sort of a regular basis. But let's go ahead and jump into the actual library. If I click the library, again, I'm just, a normal subscriber. I've got all of these games in my subscription. So I don't have to pay any extra to get these games. I pay about $5 to $6 a month to go ahead and play any of these games. So again, that's $5, $6 a month. It depends on if you got it on a deal or things like that. I think generally it's $6 a month, but if you scroll down, you can see some of these games. Some of these are big, right? Control. Everybody's heard of Control. There's games that maybe you haven't heard of, but are indie games that are, critically really, really well received, like Crosscode or Blasphemous. These are really impressive games. Fury is a great game, but again, there's bigger games like Grid, or I know there's another really big one down here somewhere. You've got Sonic Mania. I know that's not like a triple A game, right? But these are games that you've at least heard of. Overcooked, what a great game, right? Kingdom Come Deliverance. So there's games here that you've heard of, but as you can see, this is all of them, right? This is all of them. There's not a bunch of games here, but there are some. So, maybe it's one of those things where you're like, well, I wanted to play Control, but I don't really feel like buying it for $60 or whatever. Maybe you just want to try it here. Again, it's $5 or $6. You jump in, you play the game, and you say, okay, yeah, sure, why not? I'll continue playing it. And you keep playing it, and that's the end of that. And maybe you try out some of these smaller titles that, again, you don't have to pay any extra for. But the game library isn't big. Let's actually compare this to a service like Xbox Game Pass or PlayStation Now, right? Or Google Stadia. Again, Google Stadia is a good comparison because it's actually a streaming service. There are no downloads like PlayStation Now, which actually has downloads, or Xbox Game Pass. Google Stadia has quite a bit more games. I know a lot of people don't think Google Stadia has a lot of games, but it has more games than this, and it has a lot more AAA titles. Speaking of AAA titles, there are other games you can get but you do have to actually purchase, well, not necessarily the games, but a new subscription. Let me go ahead and show you. If you go to like the Welcome to Luna platform, you can see that there's a bunch of different places to play, by the way. Android, iPhone, Fire TV, Chrome browser, Mac, Windows. So you can actually download applications, or you can just play it straight from the browser, which is pretty cool. And I'll talk about my experience about that in a second. Again, of course, we've got the Luna controller. Again, I've got mine right here. We'll talk about that in a second. But if you want to play other games, like for example, Ubisoft games, Immortal Phoenix Rising, or I think this is Assassin's Creed, you've got Watch Dogs, you actually have to purchase a different kind of like pack. I know that sounds weird, but that's exactly how that works. Now, it's a little difficult to find, but if you actually click on a Ubisoft title, you'll see right here, play with Ubisoft Plus, start your subscription. So if I click this, you'll see I actually have to have a Ubisoft account and I have to own Ubisoft Plus. So I don't get these Ubisoft games by just playing or just paying for Amazon Luna. I have to own Ubisoft Plus and Amazon Luna to play these games. Now that's not the case, by the way, for Google Stadia. But Google Stadia requires you to pay for all your games, except the couple games that come free every single month with Google Stadia, just like PlayStation Plus. Not PlayStation Now, but PlayStation Plus. All of these different services are a little confusing, right? There's a bunch of different services that all give you similar types of experiences. But if you're looking for game streaming in particular, this actually might be one of the better libraries. The reason being is because it's a giant free library. I shouldn't say giant, a big free library that you don't have to actually pay extra for. It just comes with a subscription. Whereas Google Stadia, it only comes with a handful of games free, and the rest of them you actually have to purchase. And most of the time, full price or even more expensive. Whereas for these, you don't actually have the ability to even buy extra games. It's just these games, and then if you want to go ahead and get a Ubisoft Plus subscription, you can. But that's totally up to you, and you have to factor that into the price for yourself. Now, in terms of finding a service that gives you just a bunch of free games, we already know Xbox Game Pass is a way, way better value. Xbox Game Pass is probably the best value out there for free games, but not necessarily for streaming. That's xCloud, and that's something that comes up later, right? But for Amazon Luna, let's get back to it, and let's talk more about the controller. The controller's actually not that bad. It's kind of the classic Xbox layout, right? Obviously, I'm showing it to you here, but it's also right here. You can see that they've got the two control sticks, which honestly feel pretty good. There's, they're not the most solid things in the world, but honestly, they feel fine. There's the D-pad, which is clicky. So it's not like really, really mushy. It's not completely tactile, but it's definitely more clicky than a mushy, kind of disc or something like that. The buttons aren't tactile either, but they feel good. They honestly feel good. They're not a cheapy button or anything like that. Now, there is a mic button. I have not used that. I think that's for like Amazon Alexa, but I don't use Alexa for anything. I mostly use Google, so I have yet to use the actual microphone button. There is a menu button, which opens up most menus. It's kind of your start button. And then there's this button, which I think might be the capture button, but in the majority of games I've played, haven't done anything just yet. I have seen people stream Luna to Twitch, but again, that's not something I tried. And if it's something you want me to try, I have no problem with that. Let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, there is the Luna home button. You click that, and that opens up the Luna home screen and basically asks, hey, do you want to exit your game or play a new one or whatnot? So pretty simple. Honestly, I think it feels pretty good. As you can see here, it's powered by Cloud Direct technology. What does that mean? Well, you actually don't have to plug this controller in. Instead, you can actually download an app on your phone, and you can link this controller to Wi-Fi. Now, I highly recommend it. That's kind of the best way to make it work. I'm going to try and pull up the app now so I can show you. Let me actually pull up this so you guys can see it. This is the app here. The app literally just allows you to hook up the controller to Wi-Fi, and no matter where you are in your house, whether you're using a Fire Stick TV or whether you're on a laptop or on your phone, as long as you're running Luna, it will recognize this controller, no matter where you are. So if you have your laptop in the living room, you have your computer, your desktop, in an office, and then you have, of course, you have your TV with a Fire Stick in it somewhere. You can take this controller wherever and just play whatever Luna games you want. And let me tell you, it works just that way. I've done that multiple times. Now, there isn't like a quick save feature or anything like that where you can kind of pause and go to another screen. And if there is, I don't know how to do it. But if you just shut down the game and then go to another screen and open it back up, there are no like crazy loading times or anything like that. This is all from the cloud. These are running on incredibly powerful servers, and it works really, really well. So let's go ahead and jump into the actual game performance. Now, you guys saw, obviously, what the games look like, right, in terms of the actual library. But in terms of what the games look like in terms of graphical fidelity, it kind of depends. If you're playing an indie game or maybe just a game that doesn't have extremely high resolution, I'll give you an example, like BlazBlue. BlazBlue animation looks great. I'm assuming it was running at 60 frames. It didn't look slow to me. It didn't look like it was 30 frames, and it didn't look like it was bad by any means. The animation looked fluid, and it felt good. But the graphics aren't really intense on BlazBlue cross-tag battle. They're fine, but they're not anything to, write home about. But a game that I thought would at least look kind of decent, and I know, again, this probably isn't the most impressive game in the world, but it was actually the Sonic racing game. Now, I don't know if I can find it here, but the Sonic racing game honestly looked really bad. It looked like maybe a Wii racing game, something that, maybe it was 1080p, but the graphics looked pretty bad. Now, I did actually use Luna earlier, and I did use some game. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but the graphics, again, weren't the greatest, and I knew it was supposed to be a more visually appealing game. But in these games, I can tell you, if you look at these screenshots, they pretty much look like this. This isn't a lie. This is definitely a screenshot. This is basically what it looks like. It's something to write home about, but it's not terrible. It is serviceable. So if you want like the highest fidelity graphics, you might want to go with like a GeForce Now or something like that. This isn't going to give you the highest graphics. This is going to give you okay graphics, but it's going to give you good performance. And let's talk about that. Games that require really, really intense, low latency, I should say, is a game like Ghost Runner. Ghost Runner, you can't, miss your dodge or your slice, while you're running around, while you're moving. You actually have to go ahead and hit all of your abilities or attacks or movements immediately. Well, Ghost Runner, playing on Luna, I was able to do that. Now, again, the graphics were not that good on Ghost Runner. They really weren't. I play on my PlayStation 5. I love Ghost Runner, and it is a great game. Of course, it feels great because it's on a PS5, but it also looks great, again, because it's on a PS5. With Luna, game streaming, it doesn't look great, but it played almost the same exact way as if I was playing it on my PS5. The latency was near indistinguishable from me playing on my PS5. It was honestly really, really impressive. And let me tell you, I am definitely the type of person that notices latency. If I'm on a TV that isn't incredible, maybe it's like some old TV or a tube TV that just went to flat screen, I can usually tell the latency if I'm playing Super Smash Bros. or something like that. I usually can tell. I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to latency. So I was able to tell if there was latency on this controller or not, or on Luna, and there was zero. And I have played many games where I felt latency. A great example is Google Stadia with Destiny 2. I cannot play Destiny 2 on Google Stadia if I'm playing multiplayer. If I'm playing PvP, it just really doesn't work for me because the latency is a little bit too strong. But if I'm playing a game that's single player, it's usually okay, it's doable. But in this, of course, there aren't many multiplayer games, which we'll get to, but there are a lot of games where I want to make sure the latency is minimal, and this is a really great example, and it works perfectly. So if you guys want a system or a streaming service that allows you to stream without latency, or that being the concern, then definitely go ahead and try Luna. Now let's once more go back to the library, and let me explain what I was talking about the multiplayer. If you go ahead and click game type, you can go to online multiplayer, and if you click this, you'll see that there's only one game, Super Mega Baseball 3. I'm sorry. Every time I even look at this or think about it, I can't help but laugh. It's honestly, this is the only multiplayer game, a baseball game. Now, I'm not clowning on the baseball game. I've never heard about it before, to be honest with you. But there's no other multiplayer games. If you want to play Fortnite, if you want to play Warzone, if you want to play Grand Theft Auto Online, if you want to play any online game or even try something, this is not going to be the service for you. If you want to play online co-op, this is not the service for you. If you want to play local multiplayer, well, this might be the service. Again, there's not many games, but if you want to play a fighting game like Blaze Blue or Undernight, these are games that you can play with your friends. This actually does work. I've never played it. I only have one controller, and I haven't plugged in another controller to see if that works, but you can do this. I have seen people do it. So local multiplayer does work, which is interesting. Local co-op, of course, has even more. So there are actual options here, but the vast majority of games are single player. So that's pretty much everything here. Now, if you guys want to see a live stream of this, I can go ahead and do that for you. But this is Luna. The price, again, is around $5 to $6. Again, if that works for you guys, I recommend, if there's ever a free trial or anything like that, give it a shot. The games work. The game's library isn't terrible. If for some reason you're about to go off on a vacation or something like that, then maybe you want to try this out. Maybe you want to say, hey, I want to go ahead and play this game while I'm out and I don't have a Switch, or, I don't want to haul my PlayStation around. I have definitely done that. I've, gone and got my PlayStation 5, brought it with me, and I've played these, games before. But if I'm able to just stream them, it's kind of worth it, right? So all in all, I would say that Luna is still in its infancy. I wouldn't say anyone, plop down $60 and pay this thing for a year and, do all that. But maybe go ahead and pay for it for 1 year or for 1 month and just try it. Just see if you like it. Now, of course, you do have to buy the controller. Now, there might be a way to use a different controller. I did not try that, and if you guys want me to try it, let me know, again, in the comment section. I have no problem. But I do recommend getting the controller if you're going to try it. Again, there is a lot of other things to be said about the. Oh, I'm sorry. You can use a different controller. At least you can use a mouse and keyboard. I did use mouse and keyboard for Hard Reset, which is an old shooter, and I also used it for I think I tried Ghost Runner using mouse and keyboard. And when I was using Blaze Blue, it kept showing me that I could use the keyboard if I wanted to. So that's everything from me, guys. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. If you like this video, like it. If you dislike it, dislike it. But again, please let me know why in the comment section. I want to help you guys. And so if I'm missing something or you want some information, let me know. I'll definitely share it. All right, guys. With that, I'll see you online. And of course, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.